Tseycum First Nations is a small community located in the north end of Saanich Peninsula. It's on the outskirts of Greater Victoria. It's a small First Nations community with a registered population of about 142 people. Approximately 91 people live on reserve. The reserve is very small, has a very small land area of about 71 acres. It's one of the smallest communities in BC, First Nations communities. And one story that really comes out to mind is a story that my husband, Chief Fern Jacks, has told me a number of times. He was a young boy who was brought up by his grandmother. And his grandmother walked all over the peninsula to hunt for food, medicines, and whatnot. This little grandmother, shorter than I, was raising her hands up to the ancestors and apologizing because our graves were getting ruined. They were getting desecrated because they were going to make this road. And this story really struck a chord in my heart because I could just picture the grandmother crying and praying to the ancestors. And it has made me stronger to want to find out where our ancestors went. And that's been my driving force, because I could just picture this grandmother taking her little boy along. So I wanted to find out, and that's what started my research to find out where our ancestors went. Through my research, I found out that there was a gentleman who was hired by the museum to find, quote unquote, as many skulls or human ancestral remains as he could find. Find as many as he could. His name was Harlan Ingersoll Smith. He was a self-made archaeologist. He was never trained in that field. But in essence, what he did is he traveled in the greater Pacific Northwest area and located these cairns and removed these boulders and unearthed as many as our ancestors as he could find. He was paid a fee for this. He was paid $5 a skull and anywhere from $7.50 to $10 if the whole skeletal remains was there. He would take these remains, pack them up in crates and ship them to the museums in the US. For our area, it was specifically Chicago, the Field Museum, and the American Museum of Natural History in New York. But I also wanted to find out where our ancestors were because we need them to come home. Our people are not complete until we have all our ancestors home. And I always take the analogy of myself. Because I was adopted out, I needed to come home. And that was my driving force, to come home to our people. And I can take that anguish that I felt all these years to come home. And I can just imagine what our ancestors are feeling, the anguish they are feeling, that they need to come home. And when we visited the Field Museum in Chicago and the American Museum of Natural History in New York, we viewed our ancestors. And it really touched my heart to see so many young ones laying in boxes. And it wasn't right. They don't belong in boxes on shelves with just a number. And in my heart, I know they belong at home. And this is what's driving me. I would like to see a closure to this, that they come home and they can rest in peace.